and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sherry Ann.
So let's get grounded. Why don't you start with Pesh?
Yes, I need that. I need Pesh to ground me in this moment. All right. So physically, I am a 3.9, emotionally 4.2, spirit 4.4, hope 4.5, and my word is wiggly.
Okay,
Your turn.
wiggly. Funny word. Okay, physically, I am a 4. Emotionally, I'm a 4.2. Spiritually, I'm a 4.4, and hope is a 4.25, and my word is wrapping up.
Okay. So today's topic, let's see if I get this right, is about what happens when you don't recognize yourself. And we're going to, of course, bring that more towards the cancer journey. Um, and it's a big topic because it's a big feeling.
Yeah, and it's this huge sense of loss, and I know that automatically it's not just like, okay, I don't recognize myself anymore. It's more like, what do I do? How do I get back to that? This isn't who I am. And so there's this real sense of loss, and feeling like you want to go back to who that was, but your circumstances have changed.
Yeah, it's a physical change. I mean, for a lot of us, we lost our hair or we are losing our hair. And for a bigger part of us, we're not recognizing the things that are happening inside our body because it's inside our body. And so that is the feeling of being in our body. Sometimes that's altered by drugs. There's also that infamous brain fog or just this malaise fog that's like, what? That's the only way I could describe it. It's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And then wanting to be, as you said, that person who started the journey to now when I'm immersed in the journey and it's like I don't recognize anything about me. It's like somebody did, invasion of the body snatchers and I'm just not here. And how
Right.
do you deal with that? And then let me bring in the caregiver. The caregiver's there going, I didn't sign up for this. I do love my beloved. I'm here to help. Who am I now?
Right, right. And I think even to get to the point to realize that you're not who you were, or that you don't recognize yourself, is to recognize that there's this shift. And there has been this giving away of some sort of energy or a physical trait or something that just makes you feel like, okay, I recognize now that this I don't recognize myself. Like, I don't know who this person is now. And sometimes it's even hard to go there, right? We don't really see ourselves as like a new person. We just see a ghost of ourselves, and we see the remnants of what was. And so we kind of can focus on all the things that we feel like we've lost. And there is absolutely a time to grieve that and to mourn the person that you were or who you thought you were. But to even be in this place of recognition, that we're in a new space, that something has changed. Good, we're gonna take judgment out of it. It's not good or bad. We gain things and we lose things. It's kind of, we find that balance all the time. But this recognition, this moment of just, I don't really like, who am I? And like,
Right.
what's going on now with me? And it's so easy for us to seek answers outside ourselves, and no one can really solve the problem. It's not really a problem to be solved, it's one to be experienced. But no one can make the effort to do that but you, and that becomes really, really daunting.
It's an identity change for everyone involved. It's the question, I mean, it's very existential But even just the identity change. For some people, they're going, so let's talk about the patient again. For some people, it's going to be, I'm not capable of doing my work, my job like I used to. So either they take a break, and so they're separating themselves from the work that they did every day. And sometimes that's my purpose. That's my meaning. My identity was this worker bee. And for others, it's more like, I don't know who I am. You know, that the identity, it's not my job, but it's like, I can't do the things that I used to be able to do. So, am I the homemaker? I mean, do I take care of the house? Am I the mother? How do I mother when I'm not feeling? It's like all those identities kind of shift, and then it's left with, this is who I am. And if you start identifying with, oh, I'm a cancer patient, what do you think about that? What do you make up of that?
Mm-hmm.
Because life still happens. And yet your identity really gives you that lens that you're seeing life through, and your purpose. I mean, it's like all wrapped up. Here comes that crazy hairy ball, which is, what's my value? What's my purpose? Um, how do I contribute? And then you sit there going, and I have no energy
Mm-hmm.
to do anything. So now I'm a blob on the lazy boy or the sofa, and all I can do is watch, turn the channel on the TV so that I'm entertained or um, occupied.
Yeah.
But what's the value of me?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and you're tapping in on that like dissociation that is so, I mean, it's very prevalent in the culture right now, having our phones, having TV, having all these devices, but especially when we're in that space of not knowing who we are, we almost kind of look for meaning in other ways or something to like occupy us. But when we're looking to, you know, answer the question, who am I? And we become flooded with those thoughts of like, what are my values, what are my strengths, what do I care about, like what does this all mean? It can become really overwhelming, and it's not one or the other. It's not disassociate or figure all that out. It is a process that like we do have to go through, and it is something that it's an internal search, and you don't have to do it alone, right? That's why we have our coaches. Our coaches are there to guide you and help ask the questions that maybe you're afraid to ask yourself, and to really hear you, because I think sometimes we don't even hear ourselves. Like we need someone else to witness us and really hear us so that we're able to do that. um, yeah, like I said, like that first step is acknowledging, the second step is to start doing the things that scare you, and
Right.
they're not as small as they may seem, right? It's not like going out and learning to skydive or something like that, but it is a big question of who am I, and what really matters to me now. Again, I think it's important to mourn what you've lost, but also recognize that this is what's here now, and this is what we're working with, not in a bad way, but in a way that's like, let's take the time to discover it, because sometime between now and however long that you feel like maybe you've been in that transitioning phase into this new person, somewhere you've lost yourself. Like, let's refine who you are, because your spirit is still there, your soul is still there. I bet you some of those values are still the same. I bet a lot of the things that are around you are still the same. But there are those slight shifts that make you a little bit different now. And it also means that you're going to need different things. You're going to need different communication from the people around you. Maybe you don't have the energy to put up with people in your life that you were just putting up with before. You weren't engaging deeply. You weren't like in love with having them in your life. Maybe it's something to let go of. And as we've been talking about this, I'm obviously picturing the cancer journey roadmap, because innocence is like, we're fine, everything's fine. Initiation takes you right down into that, like, who am I, what is going on? And maybe you don't need a call really to get into that initiation space, but there's a moment, there's that tipping point, that's that first step. And then when you go into the pit, we know what we know more than anything else is that something needs to be released. Maybe more than one something needs to be released to come out of the pit, whether that's a mindset or a perspective, or I don't know, people in your life, or um like something else that's just isn't working for you. But this is an invitation, this recognition of knowing, like, I don't recognize myself, is enough to be that call to be like, okay, where do we reflect, where do we go now?
Yeah, I mean, it is when I said it's a big deal, it is what we deal with almost every client that comes through. That recognition of I'm not who I used to be. I'm not really sure who I am. I need help finding me again. Because that feeling of loss and change is so stark because you didn't ask for this journey. It's all of a sudden, boom, you're diagnosed and you're giving it, and you're doing your very best to hold on to like this you
Hmm.
who you think you are, but you don't know what's happening. The unknown is exactly that, and it's a big one. And while in initiation, love the cancer journey roadmap, we think we've got this, and we're going to be the best patient. I'm going to follow what they say, and I'm going to make it through this journey. Great. I mean, hooray for you to have that determination and at least the goal. But what we don't know is how our body's going to react to treatment and who's going to be there to help us, because this is not something that you do alone. Um, and all of those situational things that have an impact on how we're feeling and how we show up. So we get people who come and say, all right, here I am. I am in the pit, once they learn what the pit is and that there is a pit. And they're like, how do I get out of here? The pit isn't well, first off, let me just say publicly, the pit is my favorite part. And it's not a happy place. It's not a elegant, lovely place, but it is this place where one, we get to try to reconnect with who we truly are. So I like that part. It's like remembering who am I at my core, because cancer does strip you down. You have no energy to perform or
Hmm.
to pretend. You're just like, this is me raw, and yep, I am not always happy go lucky, and nope, I'm not always kind, and yes, there is this other side, and that makes me a full person. So all of a sudden we see the rawness of ourselves, and we might not recognize that because we've been conditioned to be the way society wants us to be. So there's this, like the stripping. So it's like, okay, I don't recognize myself here, but that's a gift. I know it doesn't feel like one right now as I'm saying it. And it is, I mean, you probably go, oh, I don't want to be stripped raw. But in there, we get to find what really matters, the real values. We get to look at, what am I really made of? What are my natural talents and my natural strengths that I don't hold valuable because they're so natural? It's like breathing for me. This is what I do. And when we do the reflection and when we do spend time on, this is what makes you so unique. This is what makes you special. It's almost like filling the cup back up with the things that have always been there, but now we're being so obvious about it. And slowly, like you said, it's not like, oop, okay, I'll remember, or I'll figure out who I'll recognize myself, or whatever it is. It's this slow refilling of the cup of what really matters, who I am at my core, what I love, what I believe in, what what brings me alive, getting connected to my soul and my spirit. That's what's in the pit and what's possible in the pit, which is why it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, yeah. So as you're saying this, what really is coming to mind throughout this experience, that I mean anyone can experience. It's really not just cancer, but specifically with cancer too. When we get to the point when we're saying I don't recognize myself anymore, we are now regaining consciousness. The idea of consciousness really came up as you're speaking, because it is a conscious effort to say, this is what I do like, this is what I don't like, this is what I'm saying yes to, this works for me, this doesn't work for me, because we're so often like neutral. Like we choose to go neutral. Like, oh, what do you want? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I can go either way. So we're very much bred to like exist in a place where we are agreeable and fair to everyone. And so even just making the decision of like, do I actually like this thing or do I not like it, um, becomes a very conscious act of self love, because maybe we weren't, giving ourselves even just that little bit to say like, yeah, I like the color green, or like, actually, I hate this color. Like there's a very clear consciousness that comes with saying like, these things are for me and these are not for me. And to choose something to put aside in the pit, you have to kind of do that conscious sorting to decide what is going to be let go of, because it is a choice. You get to choose what you're letting go of, and see how it impacts you. And that's part of the process that will get you out of the pit. And then there are allies that are obviously going to kind of help shepherd you out of the pit as well, or help you rise up on your own out of the pit. No one's pulling you out of the pit. That's not how that works. But there's so much support that can come externally, but even more support that comes internally when we are trying to get out of the pit. And I'm like, I'm just trying to put myself in the place, right? Like, I'm looking in the mirror and I don't recognize myself anymore. And like, initially, yes, it's so saddening. It's so hard to even like accept that, and you don't have to do that all in go. You can do that over days. You can do that over months and just be sad about it and let yourself be sad about it. Um, but I think it's important to be clear that that's what's happening there. You're not dissolving into thin air. You're not losing yourself completely. Your spirit is still there. Your life is still there. Your heart is still there. And so all the things that really like you really loved and cared about before, they can still matter now. And just because maybe like you look and you feel different doesn't mean that you're losing something, and maybe you're gaining something. And so, while I don't want to say like switch to a positive perspective, at a certain point integrating some more of those thoughts is going to be helpful in allowing you to transition gracefully into this next version of yourself, and really being curious about like, who is this person, like what do I really like, and um what am I more likely to give myself now that I never did before. Like maybe I said like, you can't have that extravagant thing, like you have to save money for other people, or like buying something else, or like important emergency savings things. It's like, you know what? I can splurge for one meal and have like a really, really delicious something for me, because that would make me happy. And I get to have that experience. And then you appreciate that experience even more too. But you get to develop into this new person you are, with consciousness and with love for who you're becoming.
Yeah. I mean, you said a couple of things here that I want to click on. It is the, I know you're like, let's investigate what's here and what matters. And what came up for me was, I remembered was my second experience with cancer, and the meds really took me down, treatment and meds, and I couldn't watch TV. It was too stimulating. My eyes couldn't focus. And so what I got to do, and this is remembering the things that made me happy when I was little. And what I found was I love to create. And so what I could do is have a piece of cloth with yarn. And what I did is I started hooking a rug. Now, it was from a kit, but it provided so much joy. I was actively creating something. I was doing something because, I could only sit there for so long. I was enjoying the creation mode and the little pieces. And then what I really liked is there was no time pressure. It was however I wanted to do it, in how long I wanted to do it. And it was like this remembering and this feeding of my soul into something that really brought me alive in this craziness of feeling like I've lost everything. What is there? And then I got to create something, and I thought it was very beautiful. Did we use a rug? No. But I just remember the act of doing that, and that was enough.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, that is expression. That's allowing you to express emotions that maybe you weren't before, and that's what art gives us, which is really great. I love the process of making art or of doing whatever art form it is because you get to play. It's like the adult version of playing a lot of times because sometimes as adults we don't really allow ourselves to play. Or when we think of play, we think of it as being like active, doing like sports and like running around a field or playing tag or something. That's play, and that's, even for me now, that's overwhelming. I don't want to do that. But to create something out of nothing, to share this like joy of something that's just beautiful because it lights up your soul, or um to just like figure things out as you're doing it. There's so much that you learn from doing arts, and I mean that's my little tangent on, I love art so much, and I do think it gives you a place to express emotions that maybe you otherwise weren't, or like learn something you otherwise wouldn't. It's a very exploratory activity, and so I think that's a great place to start with a lot of um you're filled with a lot of emotions. It can be a distraction and it can be a mirror depending on what art you choose. But it does help you figure out if something's for you or if it's really not for you. Maybe you're like, I really hate a rug now. Like I'm never making a rug ever again, but I learned to do it and I did. Like it's doing those things that help you process what you do and don't like.
And that is an ally,
Hmm.
right? While I'm still, now I'm discovering, who am I? It's like, oh, first off, cancer gives us a pause. I don't care what anyone says. You just stop because you can't. You're focused on that journey, and all of a sudden things slow down. You have time. You're stripped raw. You're not fixing your hair. You're not getting dressed. It's like, I have time. So we slow it down. Then now I'm like, what brings me pleasure? What would be play? What would be fun to do? I
Hmm.
had no idea that I was going to, what do they call it? Loop a rug.
Yeah.
But I still remember that feeling. And it was joy, so I could find joy in the craziness and the swirl of the cancer journey. So yes, artwork for me. For other people it might be something else.
Hmm.
um, and I hope that they do find this, rather than sitting there going, I can't do anything, I'm useless. Sliding into that um, depression is not helpful. It's like, we get to figure it out for us. I
Hmm.
didn't do the rep for anybody else. I'm going to just keep using that as an example. People do art because it is an expression. But
Hmm.
whatever somebody chooses to do to ignite their soul and their spirit, because that's what is needed to get through this crazy journey, to feed ourselves that way, not just with food, but with, oh, I don't even know the word for it. It's not feeding ourselves with love, but feeding ourselves with energy back. It's like we're doing something, and it creates more of the good energy within us. And I think that's what play does.
Yeah. It sounds like soul food to me.
Yeah.
It feeds you, it enlivens you, and it doesn't take away your energy. If anything, it gives you back a little bit of maybe not energy, but maybe spirit, maybe hope. Um and it doesn't have to take the form of, looping a rug. It can be journaling or like, depending on what you're feeling, like what you've lost in this course of time and what you wish that you had back, you can find another way to achieve that. Now I'm going into form and function, but um like if you feel like you don't have the words anymore from this brain fog, like maybe you go sing a song that already has the words for you. You don't have to, especially if you feel really deeply connected to a song, or you know there's a song from your past you love, like you just put it on the radio and like sing at the top of your lungs. You know the words. You don't need to you don't need to create any of your own. But there's definitely a lot of ways that, because there are so many ways, it feels like there are so few ways sometimes. And this is when it's like that little bit of research or talking to someone to figure out like, what do I do now when I feel like I've lost myself? It's like, well, what have I lost? Have I lost my voice? Have I lost my fire? Have I lost, the confidence that my parents gave me? Have I lost, and you can go from there and see how can we fill that cup back up.
Yeah. And there's whew, the freedom. That's what I'm hearing in this conversation is, yes, you don't recognize yourself. Okay. That's just kind of a fact. Now you have the opportunity to, we'll use the filling the cup. So now if I have this, let's not say empty cup, but a very shallow cup, shallow filled cup, then what do I want to fill it with? And having the freedom and the permission to take my time to figure it out, to do the things that are soul feeders, the soul food. Wow,
Yeah.
that feels really yummy. And along the way, now I'm realizing I have this creative part of me. Or singing a song. It feels really good to let your soul vibrate in that way. We're not all great singers, and I'm definitely a car singer, so nobody else has to hear me. But to let yourself just sing, oh my God, that is such a soul feeder. And I know that for some people, it's like, oh, I regained my voice by singing because I just sang for pure pleasure, not because I had to, not because I had to do a presentation or give a lecture or speak to people. It was just because pure joy was coming out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And these pieces of reclaiming or claiming as part of you are healers.
Yeah.
That all that we're talking about is healing, that is helping us recreate this being, this person who wants to be birthed during the cancer journey.
Yeah.
And that's just feels like my takeaway. It's like super fun, super exciting, and it's like, why don't we give ourselves this opportunity to do that,
Mm-hmm.
even without any prompting? Like, we don't need an illness to do that. We just need to give ourselves permission and time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and Pesh.
Yeah.
Sorry. Pesh, talking about this. Physically for 2, emotionally for 4, spirit for 5, hope for 6, and my word is buoyant.
Buoyant. You have fun words today. Went from wiggly to buoyant. um, okay, so my takeaway is that it is really, really hard to recognize that you feel like you've lost yourself. And I find it really hard to even just say lost yourself because you're always there. You always have you. But that recognition can be a really hard thing to step into. And a lot of times even when we recognize it, we're avoidant of it. Um, but I want to invite anyone who's feeling that way to just for like 10 minutes sit with a different perspective on it, and sit with the like, so I don't like what's here. What do I want? Like, what do I want without any excuses? Not like, but I can't because. Just like, what do I want? Like a long list of the most outrageous things ever. um and there's so much to discover when you do go down this journey, because you get, like you said, that freedom. Like the world becomes wide open because you become more willing to try things, um hopefully. I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I think that you become more willing to, because you're curious. You're curious, like, well, that doesn't work for me anymore. Maybe this thing that I tried a long time ago and didn't like is for me now. Um, and it just gives you like more of an open mind and a willingness that maybe you didn't before, because the things that are here that feel easy don't serve you anymore. Um, yeah, so my takeaway is that like the world is wide open for you, and there's so much to discover in this new space. And um my passion, physically I am a 4.25. Emotionally I am a 4.3. Spiritually I'm a 4.5, and hope is a 4.3, and my word is beverage. And then I'm thinking of like, what would I fill my cup with? Like, what would that beverage be? And I don't know why I can't let go of that thought. But it's fun to think about. Like, if my cup was low, what would I want to fill it up with? So that's where my brain is now.
And I'm right with you. So when you said that, I'm like, oh, it has to have bubbles.
For me, it's like, oh, something fruity and like a juice, but a fancy juice, like a mocktail. Well, thank you for joining us today. We'll be back next week with a new episode.
Yes, this was a fun conversation. I hope it inspired or spurred something in you to look at yourself in a different way. Have a lovely rest of your day, and remember, you're more powerful than you realize.